I don't know why my phone keeps shutting off like that. Anyway, that was on the 19th. They told me to take that paperwork up to the police department, give them the copy of the People v. Wright along with my doctor's recommendation, and have the police force file a supplemental report with the district attorney based upon all the facts now in light. And so the police department never did submit, to my knowledge anyway, that supplemental report that the district attorney had asked for. On the 23rd, I had called Ryan. He's in charge of the property room there in Atascadero Police Department, and had asked if he would release all my personal property that they had taken from me. I was informed that property was being held as evidence in a criminal case, and that it would be released to me upon a successful dismissal of the charges by the district attorney. So on the 24th, I had sent the Board of Supervisors of the City of San Luis Obispo also a letter informing them of the injustice, the civil rights violations, the illegal arrests, the towing of my vehicle, all the money that I spent, and the time that I spent in jail. The 24th also, I had taken a copy of the informal request. Stupid bees. Taken a copy of the informal request to have the judge dismiss the case in the interests of justice, and I'd given that to my public defender. After they had forced me to plead not guilty at the arraignment. At the arraignment, the district attorney had actually laughed at me. He wouldn't take a copy of the People v. Wright. He told me he knew the law better than I did, and to go hire a lawyer, and he laughed. He said they could arrest anybody they wanted any time for weed. And, you know, it was at my own peril that I used cannabis. And I told him no, he was mistaken, and that no longer can law enforcement just arrest medical marijuana patients because they have cannabis and let them have their day in court. No, the Butte County case, the judges had already stated that a marijuana patient should not have to undergo an expensive and stressful criminal trial, or even required to risk criminal penalties because you use cannabis. The judge said that exactly that. In order to assert your rights, you shouldn't have to go to jail. We have the right to privacy, and if the police don't know what's within compliance and what's not, they can't make that determination, and they can't arrest you. And if they do, well, you have every right to file civil actions against them. And that's what I told the city council. That's what I told the mayor of Atascadero. That's what I told Officer Hall before he arrested me, is that he was out of compliance, and that if he chose to continue, then not only would I be filing civil actions under the color of authority, but also against Officer Hall individually. Himself, he is the one that chose to violate my constitutional rights that he swore to uphold upon taking that job. And so, the 24th, I went and I took a copy of that informal request to my public defender, and he informed me that it sounded kind of kooky. They didn't do it that way around here. Let me check this. Okay, it's still recording. They don't do it that way around here. And don't worry, trust him. He'll put me on the stand and get the charges dismissed. Well, I don't want to go on the stand. I shouldn't have to testify. I shouldn't have to even be there. I told him to file the motion, and asked the judge to dismiss the charges. All I have to do is show reasonable doubt that any activity I was involved with had to do with my medical cannabis use. A reasonable doubt. I didn't have to prove anything. And yet the district attorney was under the impression that, hey, I had to prove I wasn't out selling weed. Well, no. I don't. And neither do you. You can have a scale. You know, you can have baggies. You know, you can have more than an ounce of weed, as they call it. After talking with my public defender, not to digress, anyway, I wasn't comfortable with everything that he said. And so on the 27th of June, I went down, I filed a discovery request. I filed it, I served it on the district attorney, I went down and I served it on the Atascadero Police Department, and I also served it on the Sheriff's Department at the county jail. As to the health, my well-being upon on booking and release of the jail of the condition of my health. I wanted to know who made the medical decision to go ahead and clear me as healthy enough to go to jail, who declined me medical attention, and who made the decision to decline me access to my prescription medication for my stomach that prevents me from having cramps and extreme nausea and pain. And these law enforcement officers also were to provide copies of all the video, all the audio, all the field notes. They had a police explorer there taking notes. And I wanted to know who is responsible, and a copy of all that video and audio to show that these officers were well out of compliance while I was in compliance. So on the 28th, I filed and served the defendant's informal request to have the charges dismissed. I filed that with the court, and I served the district attorney with a copy of that, and then I called my public defender and I let him know. On the 1st of July, that was the pre-preliminary hearing, in which they took a little break before hearing my case at 9:30. I ran downstairs, and at that time I filed the other motion. The motion you will find on americansforsafeaccess.org, and it's a motion to dismiss based on your medical marijuana as a defense. And all the information's there for you. It's indisputable. Nobody can say that you were out of compliance when everything is in black and white, and it gives medical marijuana patients the right to assert their rights to use cannabis, to possess cannabis, to grow cannabis together with one another, other patients. If you grow it for another patient, you can be reimbursed for your expenses. And no, it's not illegal sales. Those motions never got to be heard because upon calling my case, the district attorney stepped up to the microphone and dismissed voluntarily all charges against me. And I had my attorney argue a verbal motion, an oral motion, to have all my personal property released at that time, since there were no charges against me. And the district attorney kind of leaned back in his chair. Well, that's the rub, Your Honor. Like, they want to charge me later. They want to be able to charge me later for the same crime when they get all their ducks in a line. Really, what they were doing was preventing me from my other constitutional right, a right to speedy trial. They weren't ready. They didn't feel that they had the evidence to charge me, but they wanted more time to go out and collect whatever they want to. When the truth is, I've never gone out and just sold cannabis illegally to anybody. And I certainly wasn't in possession of cannabis for sale on that day either. Anyway, the judge ordered all my property released except for any contraband. And so I ran out of court that day. I got a copy of the minute order. I went to Atascadero Police Department. I gave them a copy of the dismissal of all the charges and the court's order for the release of all my personal property that was stolen. And they were a little confused on what contraband was. But obviously contraband is something that's illegal. And being that I am a current medical marijuana patient, and your cards do not expire, by the way. That's another issue that they are not aware of. So, even though your doctor puts an expiration date on the recommendation, your cannabis recommendation doesn't expire on that date. And law enforcement needs to know that, and just in case you didn't get a new one this year. Anyway, Atascadero Police Department agreed that they had no contraband in their possession, and that I was in total compliance, and that never at any time was there any contraband in my possession. And through their actions, they made that statement by releasing everything to me. And I will make another video showing everything that they released, and that I was in total 100% compliance with the CUA, the Compassionate Use Act, Proposition 215, and SB 420, which clarifies some of the statements made in Prop 215. So follow the example on Americans for Safe Access. Stand up for your rights. Do not let them intimidate you. It is intimidating, no doubt. But contact me, and contact Americans for Safe Access if you or anybody you know has been harassed or illegally arrested, or in any way had your rights violated by law enforcement or district attorneys in your county. So I will give you another update, and we will go from here, and we will prevent any more patients from being arrested. It's absurd to think you should have to go through arrest, bail, being handcuffed, printed, all this in order to use a medicine that your doctor recommended because you can't eat, or you can't sleep, or your back hurts, or whatever. Is that if you're a medical marijuana patient, the policy should be hands off, period. So good luck and stay healthy.